Well, welcome to another episode of What to Say and How to Say It. I'm Nina Roesner, and I'm here with my favorite licensed professional counselor, Kyle Hargrove. He is out of the beautiful state of Texas. And at the end of our episode today, you'll hear how you can reach out to him if you live in that state. But we're going to be digging into a topic today that, I don't know, might be getting under your craw. That sounds like a Texas thing to say. Certainly is a Montana thing to say. That's where I'm from. But are you dealing with entitlement? Are you hanging out with people that are acting entitled, easily wounded, easily tipped over, and like the world owes them a something or such and so? Like that's what we're looking at today. Because if you're in a relationship with somebody that is acting entitled, and I'm not talking about the infant entitled, I'm talking about an adult wandering the earth, supposedly an adult that's behaving in an entitled way. And like, what do we do about that? What's causing it? What's impacting it? How do we navigate those things in a way that's useful to the relationship? And so let's take a look at this thing, because if you don't do this well, if you don't navigate it well, those people leave you. Like that's where estrangement happens. And maybe you're up for that. Maybe that you're like, oh, cool, I'll just do it wrong and they'll go. No, 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 because that's not biblical. God's all about unity. So we need to figure out how to win them, be winsome, if you will, for the cause of Christ. And then on top of that, maybe even deepen our connection with them to motivate them to be connected with Him even in a deeper way. So feel free at any point, you can pop over to our website, greaterimpact.org. We have a snazzy little marriage assessment, which might kick your pants into next week. I don't know. And then there's help for you if that happens. But be sure to stay tuned to the end where we give you Kyle's information and take a listen today as we dig into this topic. So you chose us today. Entitlement, simple, not easy. Like what's going on with this today, sir?
Well, it goes really along well with the chapter that I'm writing in a project that I'm working on, and then the chapter is called "Easy Doesn't Do It."
Mm.
And we've always heard that statement, excuse me, that easy does it, easy does it, easy does it,
Oh,
and probably don't even think about what it means or what it's probably an encouragement for everybody just to settle down and
mhm.
take your time and this, that, and the other. But when it comes to strength of character and the kind of person that we want to be, both uh, just generally in life as well as in relationships, easy doesn't do it. Building that character and building that strength and being able uh, to to stand up and to some accountability questions sometimes it requires hard work.
Mhm.
And we probably discussed at least a little bit in previous episodes of how we live in a culture that seems to be allergic to that right now.
Yeah.
And I know I'm either at or approaching the age of, the old man that complains about everything.
Get off my yard.
That's right. That's right. And but I don't think that's a stretch. I don't think that's just a condition of my age and my aching joints.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's an absolute cause and effect result of a lot of behaviors from a lot of people in positions of authority, a lot of
Mhm.
people in positions of influence who have chosen, in order to not ripple the waters or to not tip the boat, to make things, accomplishments, issues of character, expectations so easy, and to put the bar so low that anybody can get over it because the emphasis is on everybody being successful
Yeah.
rather than working hard to accomplish the things that you've set out to do.
Mhm. Yeah.
So there's a string of this that goes from early childhood all the way to wherever we are right now. We
Oh,
could
yeah.
talk about that for months. But today it's just kind of like a matter of deciding where we are right now as adults. Do we want to abandon the process of setting goals and expectations and aspirations of ourselves? Or do we want to just take whatever comes, and then if it's not up to our expectations or what we want, then we cry foul?
Yeah. Yeah, I was listening to an interview that Elon Musk did months and months ago, and he was talking to someone about medical school and about how, we don't need, the DEI color charts and, all of that. It's more about who's competent because you really should there really is a need in our country and everywhere else for there to be levels of competency that, and the unfortunate thing, like I know this about myself. There's no way that I should ever be a brain surgeon. Like I don't have, and you wouldn't want me as your brain surgeon. There's a lot of things I could do well, but that's not going to be one of them. I can't do calculus. I can't do the mathematical things that you need to go through med school. And the answer is not to lower the bar. That's the wrong answer. The answer is to get the best people in there, no matter who they are. That's what's good for our country, not to get political here, but that's what's good for relationships. Like that seems so obvious to me. But when you look at these things in relationships, it applies there. My son's basketball, fifth grade, basketball coach shows up at our house, doorbell rings, I open the door, hey, Coach Steve, how are you doing? He says, yeah, so I have this trophy for Bram. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah. And I said, they lost every game. He goes, yeah, I know. The school makes me give these out. I said, do I have to take it from you? Because I'm not going to give it to him. And he says, well, I got to give it to you. I'm required to. I said, I am so sorry. Like you were great. You worked with them. They stunk. And it's not, I think it was great that they lost everything, but I'm not going to give him a trophy. He's like, you can do whatever you want to. I'm just doing my job. And I felt sorry for him after he left. And I was walked straight from the front door into the garage and threw that thing in the garbage can. And my son never knew how to, because in our house, you win when you win. And yeah, help others along the way, absolutely, but not by lying. Hello. So that's soapboxy for me, but I'm interested in what you want to talk about with this because it's a big topic that needs addressing in our country, especially right now and in relationships.
It is. And I think we have to start from a mentality and a mode that we're finding a lot of us in right now. And that is people that, I don't know, we send a drift toward a place of being offended.
Mm,
It's almost like we want to, or we have this need to be offended, i.e., therefore being a victim.
mm-hmm,
Okay. I call that with my clients, and I see a large number, a percentage of my clients having at least percentages of victimitis,
mm-hmm.
and some of them swimming in it.
Yeah.
They're just they can't get out of it, and everything is an offense to them, and everybody is against them, and nothing they do is good enough. And no matter how hard they try, someone is going to mess it up and cause it to not work out. And why bother anyway?
Oh my goodness, what a sad place.
Oh, tell me about it. What a miserable place to live. So I try to swing this around with them and ask them to contemplate these two questions instead of saying, why did I just get stung? To ask the question, why was I in this place where I was standing on a hornet's nest?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so looking at the reality of I placed myself in a position to get stung. I got stung.
Yeah.
And now I need somebody to blame for it. I need somebody to take accountability for this because why me? Why couldn't it have been somebody else?
Yeah, I
What did
love
I ever do to deserve that?
yeah, and am I measuring my worth by the way that life is treating me? Better not, because life's hard. That's just like you're
Right.
gonna get kicked.
Yeah. And in Texas, they say, oh, dang it.
Jazz will fix this too.
I know she's gonna have to. Jazz is gonna earn her money today. If you're gonna, oh, in Texas, they say if you're gonna mess with the bull, you gotta take the horns. Let me do that again. In Texas, they say if you're gonna mess with the bull, you got to deal with the horns.
Hmm.
And so if you're going to put yourself or find yourself in environments and around other people and situations to where they're not the healthiest folks to be around, or they're not the most encouraging or the most motivating folks to be around, you're eventually going to pay a consequence for that.
Well, and if you have the brain pattern that you're choosing to just leave alone as if this is a fine operating system of everything is woe is me and terrible, like you could be a store shelf stocker at Walmart or a librarian and still be getting the tar kicked out of you because that's who you are showing up in that space. Like we determine so much of our experience, whether we're having joy in our life or whether our life is hell, we're determining that.
Yeah. Well, and I think what we're missing is some intentionality here
Mm-hmm.
to say there is a lot that happens in any dogs. I don't know if you can hear them or not. They just went
Nope, not
nuts.
at all.
Okay. Okay. I think where we are coming from right now in where we are in the space that we live in today, I totally lost my train of thought now. Ugh.
Intentionality.
Oh, thank you. All right. One of the things that we're lacking right now in the space that we're living in today is a focus on intentionality. It is easy with a lot of the things that are going on in the world and a lot of the things that just happen to any of us in our lives at any one time to say, you know, I'm kind of getting it kicked out of me right now. I
Yeah.
feel a little snake bit. I know I've said that myself before.
Hmm.
And so I have to make a choice at that time. Am I going to be someone that stands around being offended right and left and being made a victim by everything that happens, whether it truly makes me a victim or not? Or am I going to say, I would prefer to influence these situations myself
Yeah.
rather than let everybody else control and stand from a place of strength?
Yeah.
And it starts with strength of character. It starts with building my character and being a lot of things that I'm probably not being when I'm focused on how much victimization I can take on, because I'm going to say victimization is it's an infection. Okay. And we'll call it victimitis because it needs a medical word. Okay. So I'm
Yeah.
suffering from victimitis. Okay. It's a primary infection. The problem is often the secondary infection is either worse than the first one, or it makes the first one, you know, exponentially worse. And what victimitis leads to is entitleitis.
Mm.
Now, it doesn't matter what era or generation we've grown up in. We've always known somebody that was spoiled,
Mm.
beyond average or more than most kids in school or whatever it might have been. And they expect everything to be done for them, given to them, et cetera, et cetera. The richy rich kind of a thing, maybe.
Yeah.
But now we're seeing it across the board.
Mm.
And what I am finding is that a hole in the strength of character is giving latitude to people to think that they shouldn't have to work hard to be better than they are,
Hmm.
to be in a better position, to be in a better situation, to feel better about themselves. It takes effort, it takes work, it takes humility. And these are just some of the things that keep me awake at night, frankly, right now.
Well, I love the fact that I know a ton of people and hang out with a lot of people just like it that are a little bit disturbed by the entitlement mentality. We both, and then some of the people that I associate with work in industries where if people don't want to do the work, nothing's going to be any different. Um, and that's one of the biggest awarenesses that people need to have is that nobody's going to save you. Like nobody's going to fix this for you. Being a grown-up means you're responsible for yourself. You're responsible for the life that you have. If you don't like it, you need to go do something about it. And
Hmm.
it's shocking to me how pervasive this attitude is in our culture. And I don't think like I hang out with some really good people, but even in that space, and I'm tempted too sometimes. Like somebody hurt my feelings this weekend. And I caught myself 3 hours later thinking, well, they shouldn't have said that. And if they, and woe was me and blah, blah, blah. And then I went, wait a minute. Ooh, this feels familiar from a long time ago. I don't like that person. Okay, what can I do differently here? Like, I don't want to wear this. I want to just get this off of me because it feels gross. But I can remember decades ago living in that and having this mindset of it's always somebody else's fault
Hmm.
and that I was entitled to better and people were letting me down if I didn't have it. And the thing that's wrong with that is that it's narcissistic, it's selfish on steroids, it's horrible, and you're trapped in it. I had a discussion at my conference with a bunch of women about who's responsible when the husband's working night shift and often is held over by the boss, and it's a tough situation and she's got to leave for work at 7:30 in the morning. Who's responsible for the childcare? Nobody liked my answer. I said, she is. Yeah, I know. Shocker, right? Why is that? She's watching the kids in that moment. She knows he has a job where that's a possibility. And on top of that, she's trying to leave. She's the one that has chosen to work. She could have chosen a job that started 4 hours later or something else. Like who knows what options there are. But at the end of the day, at 7:30 in the morning, when she needs to be out the door, it's her responsibility to make sure her kids are safe because she's the one that's there. And until you take responsibility for the reality that you have that's right in front of you right now, you're going to stay a victim for it. And that doesn't feel very good. And maybe you've got this is the thing I wonder. Did is it because we gave them too much, or too much was given to them? Or is it because they had these mother father wounds where they're always looking for other people to rescue them? And me too, right? Because I have moments like that. What is it that causes this mindset in the first place?
Well, I think it's always been there to an extent, but I do believe with, I think, plenty of reality to back it up, that it has ramped itself up in the last probably 20 to 30 years to an extent that it changes the landscape a lot. And there has been an emphasis on fairness
Mm,
and equality rather than equity.
hmm.
It's one of those pairs of words that gets under my skin when people use them the wrong way. But I use plenty of other words the wrong way, so I got no ground to stand on. But 5 years ago, let's just set a bar. 5 years ago, 2019. How many lawsuits do you think that there were filed in the courts at that time, filed by people who said, "Do you know what happened? My company hired me and they're making me come to work in
Well,
the office."
nobody. Like,
I can't imagine that there were any.
right, like that's a thing.
Oh, now that we are past the bulk of the pandemic phase, I think well
Uh-huh.
past it,
Yeah.
many companies are now saying, look,
Yeah,
guys,
come back to work.
come back to work.
Right.
This is our choice because we are the company, we are the corporation. We've chosen to hire you. You have a job. And we told you the likelihood of this not being permanent was pretty high.
Right. Yeah.
And we're calling you back in. And now companies are being sued right and left
What?
by the employees who say, it's not fair that I have to come to work. I've become accustomed to this life of having the things that used to be really hard for me not so hard anymore.
Yeah, I hope they lose. Like
And
they
I
should
don't
wear
like it.
something other than pajamas to work. Like I I'm sorry. Yeah. No, that's really sad. Like as if they were so smart to know what the company's goals are and understand the depth of connection that happens when people are present in the same space. Like yeah, Zoom works sort of, but it's not like people being together. It's a different thing.
Right.
Ugh,
It's,
frustrating.
but I have a couple of things though that I'd like to throw out there if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
bring it on.
And they're not rocket science. They're simple, but they all require effort and intentionality.
Okay.
So the first one is be accountable. Okay. If you do something and someone calls you out for doing it and it maybe wasn't the best idea in the world, well, admit it. Take accountability for your own choices, your own decisions, your own words, your own indecisions. Because if they're not good, it's going to come back to you one way or the other. And when it does, you have a choice. You
Mhm.
can either be accountable and say, I'm responsible for that. And obviously, I made a bad choice
Yeah.
instead of looking for somebody else to blame because now you're the victim.
Yep.
A second thing is to be honest. And building strength of character requires a level of transparency that a lot of people have never reached. You said something a while ago that made me think about this, and I'm not exactly sure what your words are, but it made me think, well, of course we think we're right. We always think we're right. You know, we get into a conversation or a conflict even, and we think what we think. We know what we know, and sometimes we think we know more than we know, but we always think we're right.
Yeah.
That's why we get into conversations like that. And so understanding and having a little bit of humility to say, I know I think I'm right. I know that the way that I think is the way that I think, and it works for me and it makes sense to me and it's logical to me. But I need to be open minded because I can and often am. I'm just going to say it not right. Okay. I am
Yeah.
often not right.
Yeah.
And more than one person has said that about me. You're not right. You know, so, but,
At
but to
least
be
you're humble
honest
about
enough,
it.
yeah, to be honest enough to say, look, I don't know everything. I'm like every other human being. What I think is what I think, and I think it's right. Um, if I recognize that it's happening more and more that I'm not right, I not need to consider, doing a checklist of my character and how strong it is, because I may be leaning in directions that don't work for me, that don't work for God, that don't work for the society or the family that I live in or the place where I work,
Mhm.
and the whole world can't be wrong. The whole world can't be out of step.
Yep.
So accountability, honesty, and the hardest one probably because it requires getting outside yourself and maybe reaching out for some help. And that is getting and using a little bit of self-discipline. And the funny thing about self-discipline is it doesn't take a lot to turn a lot of things around. A little bit goes a long way, and a lot goes even further.
Hmm.
But I'm going to issue a challenge to anybody listening or watching to stop and consider their own level of self-discipline and how much of that comes naturally and how much of it has to be created with intentionality.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's going to be a huge gap between those two.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be the first to admit I struggle with self discipline. I want to just go through my day and do what I want to do when I want to do it. And I want everything to be done at the end of the day.
Yep. Yep. Me too.
And then sometimes when I do make a list and say these are the things I'm going to do today, and the most important one is at the top, I find myself being a structured procrastinator and that I've worked hard all day and I've been busy all day and I haven't left and I haven't gone to the bathroom and I haven't eaten and I've been so busy and I'm so proud of myself. Yet the top two items on my list are still undone, but the
Mm.
bottom eight got done.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
That's
interesting.
not using self discipline.
Right.
Come what may, and self discipline don't live in the same room. And I want to become what may. I'm not, that's in my nature.
Yeah.
So it takes work, it takes effort for me to exercise self discipline to accomplish the things I want to accomplish and to meet the goals that I want to meet.
Hmm.
I can't expect anybody else to meet them for me.
Yeah. That's fair. I would really like it if the coffee just magically appeared in the morning,
Yes.
but and this is my big act of self-discipline at 9:30 at night when I'm exhausted and I want to go to bed. So I'm gonna make the coffee. And it sounds like such a small thing, but it brings me such wild joy in the morning. And that is the thing. The person I am tomorrow appreciates the person I am at 9:30 when I'm making, and so that, to your point, tiny little bit. And the more we do it, the easier it gets. Although there are some things like I don't like doing anything when I'm tired. So there's that.
Yeah.
But do you drag yourself doing the right thing? I mean, that's called adulting, And I think we've decided that we're becoming a nation of immature people that just whine and complain all the time and blame
Mhm.
everybody else instead of taking initiative, which is what made us great, made marriage great, made our country great, you know. And we can get back to that because there is a skill involved here, and easy isn't it. Easy doesn't
Well,
do it.
nope. And I will tell you this right now. I don't care who you are or who you listen to, whether you're listening to a pastor, a teacher, a politician, anybody. Life is not fair.
Right.
And fairness is often something that is very, very, very subjective. And it has to do, I think, sometimes with people divided between the people who say, I understand that I have to put out effort for the results I'm looking for, and people
Mhm.
who say, I really don't want to put out that effort, but I want to see if I can find a way to get those results anyway.
Yeah.
And to think that
Good
there's
luck.
anything that can be done to make things fair for everyone and equal for everyone when people have put in a whole lot different levels of effort to have what they
Yep.
have
Yep.
isn't going to happen.
Exactly. That's how that works. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So that's a thing to be thinking about if you're struggling in your marriage. Or, are you putting effort in? Or are you just waiting on your spouse to change? Because you can keep doing that. How's that working for you? Probably isn't. So if you live in Texas, I want to encourage you to reach out to Kyle Hargrove and tell us how to get a hold of you, sir.
It's not difficult at all.
That's the easy part.
You'll
Yeah.
just go onto the World Wide Web and get into your email account and email me at kylehargrovelpc@gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to respond to you and figure out what's going on, find a way to see if I can help.
And you'll see that in the explanation of today's podcast as well. And if you don't live in Texas, feel free to reach out to greaterimpact.org. You can reach us there through email as well, and there's some resources for you. But in the meantime, take responsibility. Yeah,
And even if you
avoid.
don't live in Texas, send me an email and say hi because I get
There you
lonely
go.
here, tiny little Hyco, Texas sometimes.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks so much for popping by. And friends, as you're listening, be sure you subscribe to this channel. Click that like button so we get more exposure and share this with somebody that you feel could use it today. And be blessed. We'll see you in the next episode.